Blake Shelton arrived at the New York set of Good Morning America early that morning, his signature grin in place, cowboy boots clicking on the studio floor, as producers hurriedly adjusted cameras and lighting. The country superstar had been invited to promote his latest album and talk about his new tour, a routine stop on his media rounds. Everything seemed calm at first, but what no one expected was that this segment would spiral into one of the most uncomfortable live TV moments in recent memory. Behind the scenes, tension was already brewing. Blake had been briefed that the interview would cover his new music, his time on The Voice, and his marriage to Gwen Stefani. He was fine with that, but moments before going on air, a producer informed him that George Stephanopoulos planned to ask some tough questions about his political views and recent comments he made about the state of country music in America. Blake's expression hardened immediately. He wasn't in the mood for controversy. He just wanted to talk music. When the cameras went live, George greeted Blake warmly, but there was an edge to his tone. The crowd cheered as Blake waved, strumming a few chords on his guitar before settling into his chair. The first few minutes went smoothly. They joked about The Voice, exchanged laughs about Blake's rivalry with Kelly Clarkson, and even mentioned his farm back in Oklahoma. But then, George leaned forward, shifting the tone. "Blake, you've always been outspoken about your love for America and the way you see the country changing. Some people think you've been a little too blunt lately. Do you think your recent comments may have offended some fans?" The question hung in the air. Blake's smile faded slightly. He adjusted his microphone and gave a small shrug. "Look, George," he said with a half laugh, "I'm a country singer. I say what I feel. If somebody doesn't like that, well, that's on them. I'm not running for office. I'm just making music." George pressed further, his journalistic instincts kicking in. "But when you say things like, country music's gone soft, and people don't respect traditional values anymore, that can sound like a political statement. Are you aligning yourself with any particular side?" Blake's jaw tightened. The studio audience shifted in their seats, sensing the tension. "Man, you're twisting my words," Blake replied, leaning back in his chair. "I didn't come here to talk politics. I came here to talk about my new record. You want to talk about music? Let's talk about music." George smiled politely, but he didn't back off. "I understand, but you have a huge platform, Blake. Millions listen to you. Don't you think that comes with a certain responsibility about what you say?" Blake gave a dry laugh, his Oklahoma drawl deepening. "Responsibility? I sing songs about trucks, heartbreak, and whiskey, George. I'm not trying to run the country. I think people take entertainers way too seriously." The exchange might have ended there, but George's tone sharpened. "Some would say that's exactly the problem. Artists using their influence without acknowledging it." Blake's eyes narrowed. "Some would say journalists should stick to facts and stop twisting things just to make a headline." He fired back. The audience gasped, and Robin Roberts, sitting nearby, visibly stiffened. She tried to interject with a light comment about Blake's upcoming tour, but Blake wasn't done. "You know, I've been on a lot of shows, George, and I respect journalists. But man, this feels like a setup." George tried to keep the conversation on track. "It's not a setup, Blake. I'm just asking questions the audience might be thinking." "No," Blake said, his voice firm now, "you're asking questions that'll get clicks online. There's a difference." The tension was thick enough to cut with a knife. Producers behind the glass were frantically signaling to wrap it up, but the moment was spiraling too quickly. Blake removed his earpiece. "I didn't sign up for this," he muttered. Robin stepped in quickly, trying to salvage the broadcast. "Let's take a quick look at Blake's new single," she said, motioning to the screen. The show cut to a short clip of Blake's latest music video, but the damage was already done. When the cameras returned, Blake was no longer smiling. George tried to lighten the mood with a joke about Gwen Stefani's pop influence on Blake's country sound, but Blake wasn't having it. "You know what, George? Maybe you should stick to politics. You seem better at making people mad than talking about music." That was it. George's face froze, his smile gone. The air was icy. Blake stood up. "I think I'm done here," he said, removing his microphone and standing before anyone could react. "Appreciate the invite, but I've got better ways to spend my morning." Robin reached out as if to stop him, but he gave her a polite nod before walking off the stage. The live audience gasped and murmured as cameras scrambled to cut to commercial. On-air chaos erupted, and within minutes, social media lit up. Clips of the walk-off were posted, with hashtags like Pay Blake Shelton Walks Off and Pwait GM Clash trending worldwide within an hour. Behind the scenes, producers were in a frenzy. George sat silently, staring at his notes while Robin and Michael Strahan tried to hold the segment together. During the break, an ABC executive approached George and quietly told him to step out for a moment. It wasn't the first time an interview had gone sideways on Good Morning America, but this was different. Blake Shelton was one of the most beloved figures in entertainment, and his walk-off had the potential to spark major backlash. By the time Blake got outside, a crowd of fans was waiting. He signed a few autographs but refused to take questions from the reporters who had already heard about what happened inside. "Just another day," he said with a smirk, climbing into his SUV. But that smirk didn't hide the frustration in his eyes. He knew exactly how the media would spin this. Within hours, headlines flooded the internet. Blake Shelton storms off GMA set after tense exchange with George Stephanopoulos. Country star explodes over political questioning. George pushes too far. Blake says enough. Some fans praised Blake for standing his ground, calling him a real one who doesn't bow to media pressure. Others criticized him for overreacting. Meanwhile, inside ABC headquarters, executives held a closed-door meeting. The footage was being reviewed, and damage control strategies were discussed. George was reportedly advised to issue a calm statement clarifying his intent, but he hesitated. He believed he'd simply done his job. Blake, on the other hand, decided to post his side of the story first. That evening, he tweeted, "I came to GMA to talk about music, not politics. I love George, but man, I'm tired of the gotcha questions. Let artists be artists." The tweet went viral in minutes, racking up hundreds of thousands of likes and shares. The next morning, country radio stations and entertainment talk shows were buzzing. Some called Blake's reaction authentically him, a no-nonsense, plainspoken country boy who refused to play the media game. Others accused him of lacking professionalism. On social media, Gwen Stefani subtly backed her husband by posting a photo of him performing on stage with the caption, "He speaks his truth." Good Morning America released an official statement saying, "We value open dialogue and respect all our guests. We regret that today's interview with Mr. Shelton did not go as planned." But by then, the story had taken on a life of its own. Talk show hosts dissected the incident, YouTubers analyzed body language, and even late-night comedians made jokes about the cowboy who couldn't take the heat. Blake, however, refused to apologize. In a podcast interview days later, he elaborated, "Look, man, I've been doing this a long time. I've got nothing against George. He's a pro. But I'm not going to sit there and let somebody twist what I say to make me look like I'm stirring up politics. I'm just a guy who loves writing songs. That's all I am." Insiders at ABC later revealed that producers had been told to keep future interviews with major artists light and music focused. The memo circulated quietly, an indirect acknowledgement that the Shelton incident had left a mark. George, though visibly irritated by the media backlash, moved on, resuming his political interviews as usual. For Blake, the whole ordeal became just another story in his long career. A reminder that in today's world, even a simple morning show appearance could ignite a storm. When he took the stage that weekend in Nashville, he joked with the crowd, "Y'all, I'm gonna stay right here on this stage where nobody cuts me off or asks dumb questions." The audience roared with laughter and applause. It was his way of reclaiming the moment, turning controversy into comedy. Still, behind that humor, there was a message. Blake Shelton was tired of the blurred line between entertainment and politics, between sincerity and spectacle. He wasn't interested in being the face of a cultural debate. He just wanted to make music that people could feel. In the weeks that followed, the clash faded from headlines, replaced by newer controversies. But fans still remembered it, quoting his walk-off moment in comment sections, and sharing memes of him dropping his microphone. It became one of those viral pop culture snapshots that defined the strange tension between celebrities and the media, where one wrong question could explode into a national debate. For George, it was a lesson in how fragile the balance between journalism and entertainment could be. For Blake, it was another chapter in the long story of a man who refused to be anything but himself. And for everyone watching that morning, it was a raw, unscripted moment, a reminder that behind the bright studio lights and polished smiles, real emotions still have the power to break through.